They called it a celebration of real beauty, soft lighting, harp music, champagne towers, and on the giant screen behind the runway, 2 images. One showed Bianca, my sister, smiling in her own lace design. The other showed me. At least, it used to. It was my body, my arms, my stance, even the dress I helped pin before the shoot. But my face was gone, blurred, softened, cropped, like I had been useful, but not quite worthy. I stood in the audience, watching everyone applaud, confused for a second. Then I remembered the hours in the makeup chair, the stylist who insisted my hair be pulled tight to frame the neckline. Now I knew why. They were never planning to show my face. One banner said, "Bianca's vision." The other, just a caption, "She represents all of us." Someone behind me whispered, "Is that you?" And Bianca answered, loud enough for the room, "It's not a person, it's symbolic." Nobody looked at me. Nobody asked. I stayed standing, while my sister toasted to real women. They laughed. I smiled. "My name is Danielle. I'm 34. I gave her my face. She erased it, but not all of it. Because 2 weeks before that campaign went live, I had asked the photographer to send me the originals. Not edited, not retouched, just raw. He smiled and said, "Of course, you were incredible. I always save the first shots." He didn't ask why, and I didn't explain. I saved them all, backed them up twice, labeled them under a folder called Visible. At the time, I thought maybe I just wanted to see myself. Now I know it was a kind of insurance. Memory proof. Didn't leave the event early. I didn't make a scene. I walked through the crowd, accepted 2 glasses of champagne I didn't drink, and smiled for one group photo I knew would never be posted. Then I waited. I waited until her assistant passed by, slightly flustered, holding a clipboard. I said, "Hey, where did the backstage folders go?" She blinked. "Oh, they're on the second table. Bianca left everything there for press kits." I slipped behind the curtain while Bianca was still giving interviews. The marketing deck was laid out like a war table, stacks of glossies, branding notes, lookbook previews, QR codes, her handwriting on every page. Next to the shot of me, or what used to be me, she had written, "Love the silhouette, crop tighter, make her feel universal." She didn't say Danielle, not even model, just her. Like I was a placeholder. I didn't cry, didn't tear anything. I slipped one of the unmarked prints into my purse, quietly. Then I sent myself the file again. I didn't plan revenge, but I was done letting other people edit me out. When I was 9, I wore a pink dress to my cousin's birthday. It was tight, around the arms, but I loved the way it sparkled in the sun. I spent the morning twirling in front of the mirror. My mother looked at me once and said, "Let's keep that just for home. You don't want to draw the wrong kind of attention." She gave me a navy cardigan and told me to button it up all the way. It was 30 degrees out. I wore it anyway. At the party, Bianca wore a sleeveless yellow dress. No one told her to cover anything. She had lemonade in a crystal cup. I drank from a plastic one. It wasn't hatred, it was hierarchy, casual and consistent. In family photos, I was always just outside the center. When we got them printed, mine always had a glare over my face. Once I asked if we could retake one where I looked blurry. Mom said, "You're just being sensitive. No one notices that stuff." Except I did. When Bianca turned 12, she got a custom dress for her school recital. I got her hand-me-down from the year before, altered to fit my arms. The seam ripped when I lifted my hands to clap. I remember pretending to yawn just to cover the tear. "Pretty in the face," my aunt once said. "She'll grow into the rest." I was 11. I learned to avoid cameras, to hunch slightly in group photos, to offer to take the picture instead. Mom never said I was ugly. She just suggested I try darker clothes, muted lipstick, less shimmer. And she always had Bianca stand in front. Bianca didn't ask for that role, but she played it well. In middle school, I got braces. She got headshots. In high school, I asked for a haircut. Mom said, "Let's wait until your cheeks slim out. You don't want to draw attention to them." So I waited and waited, and then I stopped asking. At Bianca's Sweet 16, the makeup artist did my face first. Barely. Then spent 40 minutes on hers. She had rhinestones on her collarbone. I had powder in my eyes. She posted all the photos online. Cropped me in most. Said, "Some of these were just too good not to post." I saved the originals. Back then, it was just habit. Now I know it was evidence. Bianca was always the vision. I was the background. And when the background started speaking, no one knew what to do with me. The message came on a Sunday. A simple DM, sandwiched between promotional spam and an old coworker's birthday reminder. "Hey, I'm working on something and I think you'd be perfect for it. Call me?" It was from Bianca. We hadn't spoken directly in months. Not since our mother's birthday, when she introduced me to her investors as the supportive one. I stared at the message for a long time, then called. Her voice was bright, rushed, full of curated charm. "Danielle, I'm building this new campaign, bridal but not the usual. I want it to be raw, real, like the kind of woman no one celebrates." I said nothing. You know, like curves, stretch marks, confidence, women who aren't edited to death. It's not about filters, it's about truth. That word, truth, landed oddly, but I nodded anyway. "I want you to be the face of it." My heart stalled. I laughed. "Me? Of course you. You've always had that honesty in your presence. You're not trying to be anyone else. People will feel that." It sounded like a compliment. Almost. I asked, "Who else is part of this?" She said, "No one yet. You'd be the first. The muse." Muse. That word tasted different coming from her. Still, I said yes. Not out of vanity, out of something smaller, quieter. Hope. She sent a car to pick me up the next morning. The stylist was friendly. The assistant hugged me. The photographer smiled like he meant it. I wore the dress she said looked powerful. We adjusted it together with pins. She took a photo of us in the mirror and posted it with, "Designing with my heart, my sister, my story." The comments poured in. So inspiring. Real beauty is the future. Finally, a brand that gets it. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not for what I lacked, but for what I carried. During lunch, Bianca sat beside me instead of across. She asked about my job, about my skincare routine, about books. She told the crew, "This is my big sister. She's why I believe in this brand." I smiled, the kind, that doesn't ask for more. She looked at me and whispered, "I should have done this a long time ago." And for a moment, I believed her. I let the camera capture everything. The fabric, the curves, the angles she once avoided. Because I thought maybe. This time, she wanted me in the picture for real. Turns out, she just needed me in the draft. The final version had other plans. It started small. The promo went live on a Thursday. I wasn't tagged. I thought maybe it was an error. Maybe she forgot. It had been a busy week. I told myself all the reasonable things. Then the second post came. 3 other women, one of them wearing the same dress I had modeled, smiling, tilted, edited. The caption read, "Because beauty is more than skin, it's confidence." Still no tag. No trace of the photo we took together. No behind-the-scenes video where I had helped adjust the train of the gown. Just gone. I opened her stories. They played like a slow erasure. Behind-the-scenes footage, but not mine. Bridal shots, but from new angles. A mirror photo, similar to the one we took, but this time it was Bianca alone, holding a coffee. I went to check her profile. Nothing. Literally, nothing. She had blocked me. No warning, no explanation, not even a message pretending it. Was accidental. Just digital silence. It was strangely effective, like slamming a door without touching it. I called the photographer. He picked up on the second ring, sounded surprised. "Hey, I didn't know the campaign dropped already. You looked amazing in the shots." I paused. "You haven't seen the final version?" He hadn't. I told him I'd been cut. He hesitated, then said, "I still have the proofs. I backed them. Up, actually. Want me to send them over?" I said yes. That night I scrolled through every photo, zoomed in on each frame, not out of vanity, out of confirmation. I needed to make sure I hadn't imagined it. The posing, the dress, the smiles, the version of myself that had existed before being edited out. 2 days later, I got an email from Bianca's assistant. A generic message. "Thanks so much for your help during pre-production. Unfortunately, the brand has shifted visual direction. We hope to work with you in future concepts." Pre-production. I wasn't even a phase anymore. I was a placeholder. The same assistant who had hugged me at the shoot now used phrases like, "We appreciate your time." No one said my name. Not once. Later that week, someone sent me a screenshot, a marketing article featuring Bianca titled, "Redefining Bridal, How One Designer is Centering Inclusivity with Discretion." Inclusivity. With discretion. That was me. I was the discretion, not the headline. Just the shadow she built it on. And I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't cry. I downloaded the email, flagged it, archived the photos, and for the first, I didn't ask anyone what I was supposed to feel. I just felt it. All of it. In silence. I didn't post a response, didn't write a thread, didn't film a tearful reaction video. I just disappeared. From her world, at least. But I didn't go quiet in mine. I started by researching. Not about Bianca, about image rights, model, releases. Digital licensing, the line between what's flattering and what's exploitative. I'd always assumed I had no leverage. Turns out, even erasure leaves a paper trail. A friend from college worked at a boutique agency. They specialized in creator rights and digital identity management. She and I got coffee. I told her what happened. She blinked once, then said, "Let me introduce you to someone." That someone was Marcus. He didn't talk much. But when he heard the story, he asked just one question. "Do you still have the unedited files?" I nodded. He smiled. 2 weeks later, I was reviewing a short-term advisory contract. 6 months, flexible hours. My job, consult on a platform they were building, one that helped artists, models, and creators track the use of their image across campaigns and platforms. It was called Mirror Frame. I didn't ask about funding. I didn't care about the press. What mattered was the tool. A system that used machine learning to trace where faces went after they were published, altered, cropped, edited. And even more than that, the system could issue soft blocks. No lawsuits. No drama. Just a signal. This image is protected, licensing not authorized. They were still in beta when the first corporate users signed on. Small brands at first, then bigger ones. Then one Bianca had worked with before. I said nothing. I didn't offer my story as a testimonial. I wasn't in the press release. But in the back end of the platform, I watched as Bianca's brand appeared on the dashboard. Then her new campaign. File. Then a flagged alert. Contains elements previously indexed to restricted model, Danielle. Code DF1127. It didn't stop the world. It didn't crash her website. But when her team tried to license new distribution rights, the block was in place. Quiet, legal, undeniable. They'd need written consent from the model of origin. And they didn't have it. Because this time, I wasn't asking to be included. I was deciding who got to use me. At Mirror Frame, they didn't even know my last name. I was just DF1127, a code tied to a face that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. And yet here I was, not louder, not prettier, not more loved, just present. Present enough to be protected, and gone enough to never need applause. I wasn't building revenge. I was building a system where no one else would have to be blurred to be seen. The email didn't say my name. It was a forward from a brand I'd never worked with. An assistant at Mirror Frame flagged it as potentially relevant. Just a thread between Bianca's team and a distributor. We're trying to relaunch the bridal line, but the image set is hitting a usage block. Can we override this internally? There was a file ID attached. I clicked it. The photo wasn't new. It was from the original shoot, the one where I posed with the dress Bianca called revolutionary. Except this time, the face was gone again. Only the body remained. The system recognized it anyway. Tag: DF1127. Status: restricted action. Consent required from model of origin. Bianca didn't know she'd been flagged. Not yet, but her campaign stalled. One distributor paused rollout. Another requested a revision of assets. A magazine pulled a feature last minute due to uncleared visuals. She posted online, "Sometimes growth means knowing when to let go of an idea." The comments were full of encouragement. No one knew what had happened. That's the thing about real control. It doesn't have to scream. The next week, her team reached out to Mirror Frame. "We'd like to identify which file is causing the block." They were told, "Due to privacy settings and client protection protocols, we can't share that information without written release." They tried again. "Can we request the model's consent directly?" They were told, "That is outside the system's current authorization flow," which is code for no. I never answered a single message, didn't forward anything, didn't hint or warn. I watched the alerts come in, one by one, quietly. Usage attempt denied. Licensing paused. Asset flagged. No one knew it was me, and that was the point. The system wasn't built for revenge, but sometimes protection looks a lot like power. Weeks later, I ran into one of her old stylists at a gallery event. She asked how I'd been, said she hadn't seen me around the brand lately. I said, "I've been working behind the curtain." She laughed. "Sounds mysterious." I smiled. "It's more about boundaries." Bianca, I heard, was pivoting to home decor, minimalist aesthetics, clean lines, less people, more objects, fitting. I scrolled through her latest launch post. Neutrals, orchids, glass vases on white tables. Caption: "Clean slates, quiet luxury, a new chapter." No faces, no bodies, just surfaces. And in the comments, someone wrote, "Bring back the bridal. It felt more human." She didn't reply. Neither did I. Because this time, I wasn't invisible. I was untouchable. I never unfollowed her. Never blocked her back. Never deleted the photos from the day I believed her. I just stopped showing up. No comments, no likes, no mentions. I watched her brand turn quieter. Her captions grew shorter. Her smile tighter. Every now and then, a post would resurface from the original bridal campaign. My dress, my arms, my silhouette, still cropped, still credited to team effort, still triggering the same system block. I changed nothing. Bianca sent a mass newsletter once. Subject line: "Rebuilding from the inside." She wrote about introspection, boundaries, grace. I read it all, then archived it. I wasn't bitter. That would have taken energy. I wasn't proud either. That would have required recognition. Was blank, like the face they blurred. I kept working, quietly. Mirror Frame grew. My contract renewed. They asked if I wanted to go public as a founding advisor. I said no. Some power is stronger when it's silent. One afternoon, I passed by a boutique that used to carry Bianca's line. They'd replaced her dresses with another brand, simpler, louder, cheaper. In the window display, a sign read, "New faces, fresh stories." I kept walking. A few weeks later, I got an email from a legal firm representing a retailer. They were requesting model clearance for a photo set from 3 years ago. Attached was a blurry version of my old image. I replied with one line, "Not authorized." That was it. No confrontation, no invoice, no explanation. I kept the originals, not out of nostalgia, out of precision. When people ask if I ever miss her, I say no. But sometimes I miss the version of me that believed she meant it. The one who smiled in that mirror shot, who thought being invited meant being seen. That version of me was honest, soft, open. She's gone now. I didn't bury her. I documented her, and then I protected what she left behind. I'm not angry. I'm not erased. I'm just out of frame now, by choice. If this reminded you of someone, maybe yourself, subscribe. Here, we don't raise our voice to be heard. We just stop waiting for permission.